The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Around 1.9 million pesos were allegedly stolen from the land bank accounts of teachers due to a supposed phishing scheme. JC Cosico with a story.
Over 70 teaching personnel lost their money in their respective bank accounts under state-owned land bank. The Teachers Dignity Coalition said that 41 of these incidents were already reported to the National Bureau of Investigation. Around 1.9 million pesos were allegedly taken from their bank accounts, majority of which happened during the Burr months after receiving their incentives and bonuses.
Yung mga cases po nito ay natataon doon sa may mga natatanggap po kaming mga bonuses. Noong October, may maliliit po kaming bonuses po diyan Noong November, meron kaming mid-year bonus, Noong December, meron po kaming SRI, yung Service Recognition Incentive.
Among those is teacher Che, who lost nearly 300,000 pesos on December 23. She recalled receiving numerous text messages of the one-time password or OTP, which are sent before accessing online bank accounts. However, she did not request for it.
Wala po akong kiniklik, wala po akong ini-enter na kung ano-anong details tungkol sa akin. Ang pera po ay ibinayad sa DragonPay. Tapos po 11 transactions ang nangyari. May 10,000, may 50,000, may 10 pesos. Iba-iba po yung amount.
She was supposed to use the money for her child's tuition.
Dahil po sir, magsi-senior high school na yung anak ko, gusto ko po siyang mabigyan ng magandang edukasyon. Pangarap ko po yun para sa anak ko.
Her branch is currently investigating the case. Despite these incidents, Land Bank assures the public that their systems are secure and these were only isolated cases. However, the teachers group believes otherwise.
Hindi naman to isolated kasi mahigit 70 na nga.
They also believe that there are still more victims. The coalition added that these incidents are not merely caused by phishing. They think that Land Bank systems are the ones compromised.
Karamihan sa amin dito na nabiktima, walang na-click, walang ganung sitwasyon. OTP lang yung na-receive namin at hindi naman namin dinalaw o ginamit yung OTP na yon.
Victims are now appealing to have their money back. They're also urging Land Bank to take actions on these reports.
Bigyan naman po sana ng pagkakataon na makalaban naman dito sa usapin na ito. Nag-open ang Land Bank, nag-open kayo nung internet banking features, pero hindi nyo naman pala kayang siguruhin na ito ay ligtas.
So far, no cases have been filed yet against the state-owned bank.
Ito ay pawis, dugo at nakadeposito rin dito ang pangarap nila sa kanilang pamilya.
For its part, the National Bureau of Investigation is expected to release its report on the matter next week. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
As the country's debt increased due to the pandemic, what will be the government's outlook for the country's economy in 2022? Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez discusses this on Bloomberg Markets Asia. Let's watch this.
I think that's not likely.
Is the Philippine government intending to, raise more funds overseas? Are there plans for that in 2022?
Yes, we are. But our borrowings, our plan for borrowings for next year are basically, we're going to depend on our domestic market. And the Philippines maintains its strong international presence by issuing global bonds in multiple hard currency markets such as US, Japan, and China. However, as I said, it's going to be around 75-25 in favor of the domestic debt market.
So we're looking at Panda, Samurai, Euro, Dollar, bond sale. Can you be a bit more specific, Secretary Dominguez?
Well, in the immediate future, we are looking at issuing about $500 million in green bonds. But again, we are waiting to see the favorable market conditions for that.
Earlier you talked about the Philippine debt. How do you think the debt is sustainable?
Well, I believe so. Our total debt to GDP at the end of the year was at 60.5% of GDP. And that's, of course, much higher than what it was in 2019, which was 39.6%. However, if you net out our internal government debt to government agencies, it's only at 54% of GDP. So that we still have it's sustainable, and it is basically within our rating peers range.
When it comes to debt to GDP, when do you see that level going back to pre-pandemic level? What is realistic?
We think by the end of 2022, 2023, we will start seeing a moderation of our debt to GDP ratio, because we expect a fairly high GDP growth rate, and that our tax collections are going to be much higher. In fact, this year, in 2021, our tax collections were already 9% over those of 2020. And by the end of this year, we will be at the levels, at pre-pandemic levels.
So higher tax collection, does it then mean that you won't need to plug revenue leaks? Are there plans for that?
Well, at the moment, as you know, we only have about 5 months left in this administration, and we are certainly working to get a fiscal consolidation plan ready. And my goal is that by the time we hand over to the next administration, we will hand over to them.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Now here are the latest from some of the presidential candidates for the 2022 elections. Vice President Leni Robredo returned to Dinagat Islands to join the groundbreaking ceremony of Angat Buhay sa Kalikasang Buhay Village in San Jose. 200 concrete houses will be built in the Angat Buhay village for indigent families without homes. Another village will also be constructed in Barangay Boa in Tagdinao. The Lacson Soto tandem will hold their proclamation rally in Imus, Cavite on February 8. Both aspirants will discuss their platforms if they win as president and vice president. Presidential aspirant Calyodi de Guzman will also hold his proclamation rally on Tuesday at the Bantayog ng mga Bayani in Quezon City. He will be joined by vice presidential candidate Walden Bello and his Senate slate. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion said that requiring booster cards should be prioritized in areas with high vaccination rates. Concepcion said that Metro Manila should be the first to roll out the booster card requirement, while other LGUs will follow as they vaccinate more of their residents. This, as Concepcion notes, the importance of booster shots as the efficacy of vaccines wane over time. He adds that the opposition to the requirement of booster cards in public spaces is understandable, as the shots are not widely accessible to the public yet. Bianca Pagdanganan enters the LPGA Drive on championship, while Yuka Saso failed out to make the cut. Pagdanganan landed on the 36th place with 9 other players after carding a 2 under par 70. However, Filipina-Japanese Yuka Saso wound up to joint 115th at the championship, failing to sustain her third-place finish in the recent Gainbridge LPGA. This is the first time that the reigning U.S. women's champion exited early after failing to make the cut in a Japan leg of the LPGA last year. Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. Kingdom of Jesus Christ founder and pastor Apollo Kibuloy has been declared wanted by the FBI but the Justice Department says it has yet received any request to extradite him. Vaccination of children aged 5 to 11 will push through on Monday, despite calls to stop pediatric vaccinations. And today is the second and last day of the 2020-2021 bar exams. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 10:15 in the morning as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now, www.signalplay.com, and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.